And my guest today is Kane Novak. Kane is a transformational speaker, coach, and leadership mentor with over 30 years in the film and entertainment industry. His unique approach focuses on self-connection and helping leaders to overcome that imposter syndrome, to break free from self-sabotage, and to really step into their authentic power. As the founder of Inspiring Millions Speakers Collective, Kane has built a dynamic community where speakers and entrepreneurs refine their storytelling, embrace their vulnerability, and amplify their personal brands. Kane's coaching merges mastery of stage presence with a deep personal growth, empowering leaders to create lasting impact and lead with purpose. So, hi, Kane, and thank you for joining me with the Business Success podcast. I'm really excited to talk to you. I've been stalking you a little bit on Facebook and finding out a bit about your energy, which I absolutely love. So, maybe you could just tell the listeners and those that are watching a little bit about yourself and why you were interested in maybe talking to me about what I do.
Ah, I can definitely do that. Look, my name's Kane Novak. I empower leaders to unlock their true potential and amplify their brands. And that's doing deep dives into discovering their original core belief systems in their stories and shifting it. It's the dynamic that allows them to see the truth and change the perspective. And for me, look, I've spent over 30 years in the film and entertainment industry and prior to coaching. But the skills that I learnt during that time as an actor, training actor, like a lot of people don't understand the depths of self-discovery that an actor actually has to do. And the depths of healing that they actually have. So for most of my life, I've been surrounded by constantly evaluating who I am and seeing who I am and knowing who I am. And this is the important aspect to truly remember. When you're a character actor, not everyone's a character actor, but when you're a character actor, which is my main focus, I wanted to embody different personas. If you don't understand yourself, if you're not trained enough to understand yourself and know that you're bringing on another character and know the difference between that character and you, that's where a lot of people get lost, right? They're not doing the deep work. And when you're going through depths of training in these areas, you are always being reminded, who are you? Discover who you are, because if you don't understand who you are, you'll get lost when you start going into other characters, because you'll be in those characters for months. And to
Right.
be able to disconnect from that is a really important avenue. So that included into my coaching has allowed me to dive deep into people's stories, because what I became a master of was understanding why people behaved and reacted the way they did. And
Interesting.
it's all
Yeah.
based on, yeah, it's all based on their story, the history of their life, the evolution of this lifetime. And when people get into their 40s, some people in their 30s, when people get into their 40s, all of a sudden something triggers, the crown starts opening up, and they start asking questions about, who the hell am I? And why am I here? And I just want to tap into my heart. And why can't I? These are the questions I hear all the time.
Awesome. And that so aligns with, the stuff that I share with people where it's about understanding who you are and having that relationship with yourself. People come to me asking me to support them to heal sexual connection and relationship with a partner. And then I start doing the work on who they are and understanding it. And they're like, no, 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 that's not what I wanted. Like, but the first relationship is with you. Because if you don't have that relationship with yourself, how do you know what you're offering and sharing and being able to explore with another person when you don't, even on a physical level, if you don't understand the mechanics of your own body and you're just kind of handing it over to someone else and saying, well, help yourself. But if but let alone the mind as well, the mind's even more complicated. But like understanding all of that and who we are, before we step into a relationship with anyone else, which is, what you're saying about an actor, or, someone understanding their own story and where they've been and their own journey, and the stuff they're carrying around, which is often only a perception in time. And actually, when they unpack it, they're like, maybe I just maybe read that one different way to I'm looking at it now, which is, I do a lot of that. Like, it was a perception in time. Maybe that divorce wasn't quite as you perceived it, or that relationship wasn't quite as you perceived it, or your relationship yourself isn't quite as you perceive it. So it's very similar in
So
that.
here's yeah, absolutely. And I just want to tap on to the second question that you asked me. Why did I want to come here and chat with you about this particular topic? Is because I've been surrounded by creative people for most of my life. And creative people, men and women, they are tapped into their sexual energy. And a lot of people outside of the creative world see that as, some sort of flirtation, or they're trying to be sexual, but it's not sexual. It's not about sex. It's just being really in touch with this particular energy. I mean, I don't know how many times that when I was in my 20s, how many times I got asked by gay guys who were in the entertainment industry that if I was gay, they were like, "Kane, you should be gay, man." Like, really? Like, I'm like, "Yeah, thanks, man, but I really do enjoy girls way too much."
That was just about the energy that you were giving off, I'm guessing. It was just that because you were in tune with who you were, because as you say, you were, aligned to that part of you, which was just showing up as this person that was really connected to that, which, to be fair, a lot of, people in the gay community are, because they've been through that journey of understanding who they are as an individual. So it was, yeah, that was that energy that was just, so how do you see now in the work that you do and the journey that you've been on this, I know we've talked already through messages and previously about this link between the creativity and sex. So how does that show up for you, either with yourself or with the people that you've connected with this? Because it is about that energy. It's one of the same thing. So how does that show up for you?
Oh gosh, you're opening a whole box here of stuff.
That's the point.
So let like can you reframe the question? Just reframe that question so I can be really clear with an answer here for you.
Okay. How do you believe creativity and sex are intertwined?
Okay, so if we went into the sacral chakra and what the sacral chakra is, the sacral chakra is where the sexual energy is. It's where self-worth is. It's also where creativity comes from. Tapping in when you're a creative person, like sexual. Here's a little fact for you. Here's a trivia fact. Some of the most of the most successful people in the world, we're talking multimillionaires and billionaires, have a high sexual aptitude. The reason why they're so successful is they're able to contain the sexual energy and pinpoint it into what they're creating. So sexual energy is this organic energy that comes from the whole body. And when you focus it, it is just like a meditative state, right? I mean, you would have heard writers talking about, I will get lost for hours. I used to do that. I used to write scripts and things like that, right? I would get lost for hours on end, right? And because you're in a meditative state. And when you're done, you are kind of like, you kind of energized with a sexual energy. At the end of the day, you want to be passionate. You want to, because you've just laid out all this gold from your own soul, right? It's coming from your soul, from your heart. You're not in your head. Like, the reason when you hear people, artists, painters, creatives, writers, they will say, "Oh, I've got a writer's block." It's because they're in the head. They're stuck in their head and they can't make a decision. That's all it is. They're
So
not trusting.
The answer there is going to have some sex.
Yes, absolutely.
Get the flow going, so to speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it brings on creativity. I mean, all right, we're getting a little personal here, but like my partner and I have such incredible passion. Like the orgasms are so long that I go into a state out of body experience. This is consistent. This isn't just a one off, right? This isn't,
Yeah.
oh, this happened. Oh my God, can I get back there? No, this is consistency where the breathing is so in depth, right? And you lay there afterwards and the vibration that's coming from you, the power between the two of us, the two people coming together, these two souls coming together with such passion, and the creativity and the vulnerability and the things that you can talk about with such openness. It truly is a key to tapping into that resource, and you are energized and you do feel passionate about something else, like going, right, I've got some focus here, and you can redirect it. It's such, like, I've been sexually assaulted a couple of times when I was a kid, right? That's something as a man that I had to overcome.
Mhm.
And it was pretty confronting.
Yeah.
And the first time I ever spoke about it was in an acting class. I was 19 and it was method acting. It was a method acting studio. So method acting is all about tapping into your emotions,
Yeah.
your experiences. So we were doing a really tough scene, and the teacher asked me, "Have you been through something that's really traumatic in that respect?" And I was like, actually, yeah. I told him about what happened. He was like, "This the space is safe, right?" Um, and I told him about what took place, and he was like, "Okay, great. We're going to use this energy, and we're going to allow it to come out. We're going to tap into it, and we're going to use that in this particular scene." And for me, it was confronting. It was also healing. I sobbed afterwards after doing the scene. I was held. I was held by my tutor. I was held by the other students. To allow that truth to come out. And it's really interesting. So here's a really interesting dynamic. Before that experience, um, I was pretty highly sexual from like 15, always have been, but um, I wasn't compassionate about women
Okay.
at that age.
Yeah.
I respected them, but I didn't think about how they would feel if I was with another girl,
Yeah.
because I was a free flowing spirit. I was just having fun. And it wasn't until I got to that point that there was a weight off my shoulders. And I really came to recognize that things like that hurt girls. And I went, wow, that's not cool, is it? And from that moment, I raised my standard of how I reacted with girls, how I responded with women, and where I placed them. There's been many a times where, like, I've in my younger years, I'm talking in my younger years, where I'd pick up a girl, and and we'd go home, but if they were drunk, I wouldn't have sex. Like, I would put them to bed.
Yeah.
I've even had girls like want to have sex with me, throw up, and still want to have sex. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
not right. Sorry. No. And I would go and clean up, put them to bed and clean up and leave. Like there was a respect that I learned as a young man because of what I had been through, that when I truly allowed that to surface with me. And don't get me wrong, I did close it down after that experience. I didn't share it again until I was in my 40s.
Yeah.
But I've been so, because of all my training, I've been so vulnerable. I've been so open in my communication. I wear my heart on my sleeve. And I've had ex-partners tell me that I suck because I have my heart on my sleeve, right? And that I shouldn't do that. And I'm like, you know what? I actually really appreciate the fact that I wear my heart on my sleeve because I'm not putting a mask on. If I'm upset about something, I'm going to tell you that I'm upset about something. If I need to share something, I'm going to tell you that I need to share something. Because if I don't, then I just pretend and you know it. And then you block me because I'm blocking you.
Yeah.
It's just a reflection.
Which brings us, I mean, that brings us on to the kind of, it's all so interwoven, is it? By you managing to understand a little bit of your own story, by healing some of that journey, which a lot of people don't do. A lot of people lock it away. You've kind of, through your life, opened that door and dealt with it in various ways, whether that was when you was 19, managing through acting, or whether it's later in your life in conversations you might have had partners, or your own journey with your own healing, um, and sort of self-discovery. But how, like, not many people have that opportunity or take or understand that opportunity in their life. How do you think, by not allowing ourselves, let me restart that again because I'm kind of going off on my own head then. What impact do you think it has if we don't do that? Like, if you hadn't have done that, where do you think you would be now with the relationship with yourself and with others? Or if you don't want to kind of go down the personal route, like, how do you think it impacts us as a society, really, by just keep ignoring this stuff and not tapping into that energy and understanding our own journey and our perspective of our own journey?
Okay. There's a couple of different areas there, right? And you're bringing up a really massive point here, right? This is huge. This is a huge thing to understand on so many different levels. Okay, for one, if you don't heal and face your shit, you get old really quickly. I'm 50 years old and I'm highly sexual and I love my life. I'm pretty damn vibrant for a 50-year-old. Same with my partner.
Yeah.
She's the same age. We're a month apart. She's just as fit. And like I was saying earlier, the trauma in our relationship over the last 4 years that had been such a heavy weight, she's been working on it, releasing. She's getting younger and younger. Like, if you look at photos of her from 4 years ago compared to now, she looks younger. It's just a fact. This is how you biohack your age, by not just taking care of the food that you eat, not just by doing the exercise that is so important, but by facing who the bloody hell you are.
100%.
Forgiving all the circumstances in your life, all the stories in your life, because everything's a story. This is what I teach my clients, because I teach them about their story, right? I do the story extraction on them. I take them on in this deep dive journey. I had a professional associate get a little sample of it, and then she got in touch. She said, Kane, you've got to really warn people about how deep you take people, because that's occupational health and safety. What you do. And I'm like, I know. If people aren't ready to do what I do, then they won't enjoy the experience. People have to be ready. They have to have gone through years of personal development before they actually come to me to go to that next level, because it is confronting. But the reason why I can do it is because I've had all the trauma in my life that I've confronted and held space for myself, with others, leading me, so I can hold that space for others. You can't hold space unless you've been holding space for yourself. And that's one of the most important keys as a professional. Um, the other aspect to it is, and I was very lucky that I was able to be surrounded by people that were consciously aware from a very young age. Yeah. And I was bullied so bad as a kid. Like, I was emasculated, I was bullied. Um, the emasculation side of things had a really big impact on me for a long period of time. And that was associated to my 4.5 year older sister,
Yeah.
who didn't like the fact that I came into the world. So my mum had 6 miscarriages. She was told after my sister that she'll never have a child again. She ended up having like 167 internal stitches. And I stuck around. My last podcast said, "You're like a miracle baby." I said, well, I never really considered like that I'm a miracle baby, but whatever. But that dynamic, that all the bullying that I received psychologically, physically, um, from her as well as from the school grounds, like I was an introvert. Like, I didn't have friends as a kid. I was a fat kid, up until the age of 14. Um, but it had a major impact. It wasn't until I changed my life by doing a triathlon and then going into the entertainment industry that I surrounded myself with all these people that were consciously aware. And what were we doing in acting training? Getting in touch with ourselves, getting in touch with our emotions, doing deep dives into our own stories and understanding ourselves. So, how can normal people do this? Man, you just have to make a decision. If you and I'll share, if you want to pop in and say anything at the
Oh, no,
moment, look,
yeah,
or you
no,
want to ask me something, just let me know, because I can talk for ages on this. Okay,
no,
because it does have an effect on your sexual appetite, especially
100%.
like when I was 15. I never had any girls look at me, give me attention. I was so cut off because of the sexual trauma and the bullying and the emasculation, that I was so cut off from that stuff. I was a shell of a kid. And just the thought of sex and looking at porn and stuff like that, and fantasizing, and I was scared. If we were really open and truthful, I was scared, because at that age, I didn't know how to be vulnerable. I was scared. I didn't feel safe at home. I didn't feel like anyone had my back. And then, after a really horrible moment at school of getting bullied by a couple of girls, I decided to go and do a triathlon, which was 3 months. It was happening in 3 months. So this fat kid, no voice, no self-esteem, no self-worth, goes and asks his parents, "I'm going to go and do a triathlon." They're like, "Really?" And I did, and it changed my whole life. All of a sudden, like, I came second in the state in my first triathlon for my age. And all of a sudden, I got attention from girls. I didn't even know what to do. I was still trying to figure me out. But I was really lucky too, at that point, I got surrounded by a group of friends, and you could say they're all left field, right? They're all from different walks of life, but we're still all together. We all still stay in contact. I just went down 2,000 kilometers away um, to do an event. I was in a speaking event, um, but it was my 50th birthday just a few weeks ago. And I went down there and I let everyone know, hey, I'm going to be there. They all turned up.
Awesome.
People from 30, people from 35 years ago, right? Because we're all in touch with each other. We still are. We're in a messenger group, all of us, because we're all got kids, we're all growing, we're all doing different things, right? But all of us have had sex with each other too. We all we all went through this experience in this group. So this is a really interesting avenue, right? This whole group of friends that, girls and guys, it was almost like 50-50.
Yeah.
We all dated each other. Like there were moments where we were having, like everyone would be crashed out in the lounge room. There'd be like 15 or 16 of us, and people are having sex in the lounge room. Everyone's just doing their own thing, right? But no one was feeling embarrassed about it or anything like that. And then when we'd talk to other friends at school, outside of the group, and not everyone did that. And we were like, oh, we thought that's what everyone was doing.
So you tapped into your creative energy quite young then,
Yes. Yes,
in
I did.
multiple ways.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
think
really did.
I think these things are interesting when we look back at our kind of, I call it the sexual timeline. We all have timelines in different aspects of our lives, but I think our sexual one can be, I mean, I believe it starts before we're even conceived, definitely when we're conceived, definitely when we're in the womb, that whole connection to sensuality, how we connect to the outside world. But these moments, even a single moment of a conversation around sex, or I can remember things like my secondary school, no, my primary school teacher telling my parents that I really shouldn't go to a mixed school because I wouldn't be able to handle it. And I can still hear her voice playing out, I've done the work on it, but I can still hear her voice as part of a moment of like, what do you mean I can't connect with men? Like, and that plays out in my story. And just other times, my parents never really openly talking about sex. In fact, it didn't even occur to me for many years they even did it. And then I realized that was how I got here. So it's like, oh, okay. But like all these little chunks are so significant in understanding our story, covering up, getting up, for me, it was about, I don't even remember buying my first bra. Like, this is all stuff that's like, I must have done it at some point, but it's just like all these things that I know somehow I've suppressed because there wouldn't have been the talk about periods and menopause and like all these different things in our life that we suppress. They're all layers of part of who we are, whether it's that front room with your mates that kind of gave you a sense of freedom that you then had a comparison to what other people were doing in their life and just how it shows up. It's very interesting. And I think even like you were saying, the most creative people had those opportunities because they had opportunities in their life to tap into some of that, right, wrong, or indifferent. And not all of those experiences would have been great. It was still an experience that allowed you to start to understand the bits of you liked and you didn't like. And I think that's the bit that a lot of people have pushed down. They don't accept and face their story. Like you help them discover many layers, not just their sexual layer, but many layers of their story. But it all comes back to who we are as an individual, and we are sexual human beings. That's our very vibration on this earth, is that we are sexual beings. I was actually like, it's how you got here. They go, oh yeah, so it is. Like that's what we're bloody designed for it. We're like, geography of us is designed for it. I always say even our arms are the right length. Do you know what I mean? It's just like everything is designed for us to interact with our own body and with somebody else's. And yet so many people shut that down in life because of experiences they had that they won't go back to, or because we've never been given an opportunity through our education systems, through sex being in many cultures a taboo, that we don't openly embrace sex in many levels, even just on the pure fact that it gives us serotonin and dopamine and endorphins and is a health benefit, let alone that it's quite good fun if you get it right. It's like we're just seem to be missing out on so much. And like I know, like you were saying to me before about this like whole orgasmic energy that like, you know, you and your partner share this vibration of euphoria, of bliss, of transcendental experience that actually when you can connect with that with the right person or with yourself, firstly, it's free if you know how to get, you know, it's there, it's available to all of us, but we're not tapping into this life force that actually created us that can actually give us health. Well, I believe health, wealth, and happiness if we get it right. There's so much there that people aren't tapping into because they won't go back and revisit their story and those aspects of it like you were talking about. You know, you've talked to us about your trauma, you've talked about the fun in the lounge. You know, there's other layers of you, as well as clearly being a creative person and having the flexibility to tap into that. Are there any other points that you believe really enabled you to be this expansive sexual human being where you could embrace who you were as an individual and your relationships with others? Any pivotal parts in your life that you think made a significant difference to that journey?
Yeah. I think it's really interesting. Like, again, there's a couple of different layers here.
Oh, yeah.
I was in a pretty intense, like from the age of 17, all the girls I dated were 7 years older than me on average. um, Not just because of the sex, that was a part of it, because they were more open, and they were more creative, I guess is a good word. They knew what really worked for them,
Yeah, yeah. To be
if you
honest,
will.
I did the same with men, but mine went to 10 years older. So I get
Yeah,
it. Like
right.
having that advanced tutor in life.
Yeah, right. And but the other side was that I was more I really enjoyed the intellect. So I was a pretty intellectual kid with a big wide view of the world and open to so many different experiences that I just wanted to learn stuff. I just wanted to learn more. I wanted to be wise. I wanted to suck in as much information as I could about life and experience different things. That was probably the key, is especially being in film and entertainment, is you have to understand and you have to have empathy about other people's experiences. You have to understand what they've been through. You have to experience part of what they've been through, no matter what it is. And you have to embody it. You have to feel it. It's the empathy, that's the compassion. That's why I can have such an open heart when I work with my clients, because I've been doing it all my life about understanding and having compassion for other people's journeys. Because if you can't, with your partner, if you can't hold space for your partner, you're never going to have a deep sexual relationship, because I'm going to say this, you can quote me on this. Women are the most powerful, bravest, courageous human beings on this planet because of the shit that they have to deal with every single freaking day, because of dirty, disgusting men that are out there that think that they can just yell shit out and to women and shit like that. Like it irritated me from a young kid. Like I never did that. Probably because I got bullied most of my life. And I was like, that's bullying. Like, what are you doing? Have some respect. So for for me, women have this element of fear in their lives that they just step through. And it's it's awe-inspiring because, and like I said, I've been surrounded by so many creative women who are tapped into their sexual energy and they have such confidence, right? That confidence because they know their self-worth. And being a creative, we're all touchy-feely. We're always touchy. You have to hug, 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 hug. We're hugging everyone. We're touching everyone. Big guys, girls, it doesn't matter. We're like, because we're open. We're not trying to pick you up. How many people? I've worked in the corporate sector. I've trained in. I do a lot of corporate team building, and I've done that for almost 20 years. A lot of people in the corporate freak the fuck out when you touch them. What are
I
you
was
doing?
going to say that. Yeah, it's not.
What are you doing?
Not that
Yeah,
it's not
that's
the
my
first,
body.
is it? But give everyone in a room a hug, and it's just like, oh, I've been in a couple of events where they've done corporate, and at the end they've asked, and it's been quite a journey, and it has been emotional for a lot of them. And they've like hold hands, and they just look like, what? I've got to hold hands with a guy? Like, there's just this whole energy of like, it's a human, like they just don't. And I think that is the difference between the create. Like, that's one of my big passions, is to get into those places and talk about sex, because they're missing a trick in their business for a start, because they're not tapping into the creativity, match sexual energy, juicy stuff that they could be using in their business. But actually often they're the ones that don't have the tools. Like you were saying, you respect women because men behave in a certain way, but for me it's like I work with a lot of those men, but they were never given the tools. Like they
Yeah.
don't know how to. And I'm not saying there's not a part of them should like, let's go and find out, but culturally, society, upbringing, like all these media, don't even start me on that one, that's a whole different conversation. But just like that, we're not in a world that is a creator, that is a, we don't live in an environment that still allows wrongly men to embrace that side. And that's what I love about tantra, because tantra softens that energy and allows men to be more expressive in a very to dance with the divine feminine in a safe space, because it's framed in tantra, so it's a safe place to play. But then it's for men that do that and maybe come on your courses, that are experiencing creativity and storytelling and all that, like it's then transferring it into their world, because the world doesn't sit in that circle. So like how do we do that? How do we move this energy to allow people to be more creative, tap into the creativity that they're talking about? For me, the sexual juices that I know are holding people back. Have you got any suggestions or tools of just things people could do to start to shift towards being more tactile, connecting, embracing, spiritual understanding of our creativity that is literally the hub of who we are as a human being? That was a big question. Sorry, I kind of went. It comes from here and just lands, just like there, just arrives.
That is a really big question. And look, there are so many.
Basically, just a small question. What can we do?
So there's certain elements that people can do in their everyday life, right? One is meditate.
Yeah, 100%.
Two, eat good food. Three, exercise. I'm not talking once a month.
Yeah,
Every day, 10, 15, 20 minutes. It doesn't take long to do a high impact workout of some sort, because if you want to have really powerful sex, you've got to be fit. At the end of the day, you've got to have some sort of fitness level there, especially for a man, right? I mean, I'm talking from a man's perspective, right? Especially for a man, like
yeah.
you'll enjoy it more if you're actually a little bit more fit.
Having a
There's well, it's stamina, right? I mean, I mean, my my partner has never orgasmed so much in her life since our relationship, right? we're talking like 4 to 7, maybe 9. We lose count sometimes. Like it's like she gets blown away. She's like, oh, it's unbelievable. But that's because we're doing the work on ourselves, right? I don't want to paint a picture that it's some sort of magical thing. It's because we're actually doing the work on ourselves, healing ourselves, allowing ourselves to communicate with each other truthfully. So the other really big key for everyone, if they want to shift quickly, own their truth.
The drum roll there. Own your truth. Okay, what do you mean by own your truth?
Your story isn't going to change. The things that happen to your life happened. It's a fact. You got to own it. Because if you think that hiding your story or elements of trauma or elements of experiences that you've had is actually benefiting anyone, or especially a partner, here's the kicker. If you're not truthful with your partner, especially a woman, far out. They are so in sync with energy that they'll sit there and go, you're hiding something. What aren't you telling me? And what happens? She doesn't want to share something. Vulnerability can only create more vulnerability. So when I say own your truth, I see it all the time. I have conversations with clients and you know people, and they're like, oh, I can't tell them that. Why? Why can't you tell them that? They're connected to your soul. They're your goddamn wife or husband.
Man, I hear it too.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, I can't tell them that. That will upset them. Oh, and you think they don't know?
Or it's
Come on.
the fear of rejection is the other one. It's like what happens if I tell them and it doesn't go down too well.
Yeah. The fear of
How's it going not
rejection.
telling them?
So, so yeah, absolutely. And then it's all the finger pointing, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if there's a marriage going on, so this is for married people. If you're married, it's a spiritual game. The regular bullshit of talking about surface level stuff with a counselor or a psychologist because you're trying to help the relationship doesn't work. You're actually on a spiritual journey. You're connected spiritually. That's what you went to. That's why you got married. You actually got indoctrinated with your spirit, your souls together. It's a spiritual journey, and you need to face your trauma and your wounds, because everything that is triggered by your partner is a reflection of what's going inside you. So when I say own your truth, this is the most simplest thing. Just own your truth. Be really open. You got a problem? Share it. You're scared about something? Did you get sexually assaulted? Share it. There are so many people that don't share their sexual assault to their partner, and they wonder why they have sexual problems, because they're blocked in a certain area, because there's so much fear and trauma associated to it, and they're not sharing it. And the only way to share it is by actually letting it out.
Someone's got to start that conversation. That's the thing sometimes, isn't it? Where people have left it, and I've had this with many couples I've worked with. They've left it so long, like that, that they'll talk to me, they'll say, but I haven't told her for like, I've been with her for 20 years. But it's never too late. Like that's okay. You're human. But let's change the next 20 years, because you can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So let's have the conversations, and really this whole bit of this conversation is literally what I did. I was like, I can't hide this anymore. This is me. It's making me ill. I need to step into my truth, give up my career. This is who I am. If you don't like it, then I'm really sorry, but this is me being true. And actually what happened, and I've seen this happen in relationships, is when I spoke my truth, people moved towards me, not away. The people I thought we're going to give me shit, and they're my greatest fans. And those that don't quite get it are probably my ideal client and have moved, like they've just drifted and they're doing their own thing, which is fine too, because we're all on our own journey. But me speaking on stage, I never thought I would do. And now I'm speaking on stage and getting standing ovations and people clapping because they get it, because they all want to do what I've done, which is open their mouth and speak the truth about that part of their life where they feel most vulnerable. And it is a difficult thing to do. And it is difficult for couples when they've left it and left it and left it to suddenly say, actually, this is how I feel. This is what's going on for me.
I'm going to add something here because this is really important. Um, Actually, one of the biggest fear for men is for men.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest fears about being vulnerable is that their partner, their wife, will leave them. Right? I've seen men say it. I've seen men actually comment the comments saying, "That's what happened to me. Yeah, I was vulnerable. My wife left because she thought I was weak." No bullshit. That's a load of rubbish. For one, if she leaves you because you're being vulnerable, it's probably not the right person. So be happy about that. Two, you probably scared the shit out of them and they're too scared to be vulnerable, so they ran away. Three, were you playing a victim when you were vulnerable? Because when you play a victim, because of your stories, because of your trauma, you're not actually taking responsibility for your truth. It's a blame. Oh, because of this, I'm not got. Oh, because of this. Because of that, I'm not doing this. And fuck, I'm not happy because of this experience. And they're such assholes. That's being a victim.
100%.
The moment that we actually see, so this is the other thing that someone can implement today. Forgive everyone that did something bad to you and send them love every single day, because what they did made you who you are, and they have their own life to live. They've got their own fuck ups to do. They've got their own lessons to learn. They're not even thinking about you because they're too screwed up in the head too. So stop thinking about the pain that someone else put on you, because they were probably in just as much pain. The moment we give empathy and compassion for the people that actually did bad stuff to us, and we start, we don't have to condone what they did, but we can appreciate that that soul is on its own journey. And the balance of the universe, there's always positive and negative. It's the universe. It's magnetism. Nothing exists. The world, the earth, the globe has a south and a north pole, which is magnetized. Nothing exists in our solar system that doesn't have a positive and negative. It's the balance. The other thing that you can do today is ask yourself. You can view your experiences, because I guarantee most people understand some of the shit experiences in their life that they haven't let go of. Guarantee it. Ask yourself. Think about it and then ask yourself, am I looking at the negative or am I choosing to look at the positive?
Okay.
Because the law of polarity specifies that whenever there is a negative, there is always a positive at exactly the same time. So what are you going to focus on? Because where energy flows, where focus goes, right?
100%.
Focus. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
so our gift to our community, to our partners, to our business, the whole aspect of being the reason why I I say that the sexual energy is such an important factor for business, for anything, for career, and especially for women. The divine feminine that stands in their sexual energy is so powerful, is so confident, is so like it makes me melt, not in a sexual way. It makes me melt with just awe when I come across women that, like my partner, that are so tapped into their sexual energy and they're so confident. And yeah, guys take it the wrong way because they don't really understand. Most guys, right? Most, not all guys. Creative guys get it. They're like, "Hey, how you doing?" Gives a hug. Other
I,
guys are like, "Oh yeah, I'll tap it."
I think they do get it. I'm going to stick up for the guys now because I think they do get it. They don't know how to manage it. I think there's an
No,
I think
I
there's
agree.
I had some real clients that have come to me in tantra that have been an energy that I never expected to walk through my door. They get it. They just don't know how to access it.
Yeah, I think it freaks them out a bit um, because that energy is a powerful energy.
Yeah, and we are in a, men and the masculine energy shows up in a whole different way, and it's how do you transition when you've been raised not to cry, not to show your emotions, not to have all of that stuff going on, and to be a man's man because you're here to provide, this is what you do, this is who you are. And then actually, I think like I always say to men, it's that dance, because it's like at the moment they don't know whether to open the door for the women, pay for the meal, because Mondays she might want it, Tuesdays she might not. There's a shift that we're going through, and I think it is an energy shift that men are not quite sure how to dance between the two energies. I think women can do that. We can stand in our masculine and stand in generally can stand in our masculine and our divine feminine and dance between them and play with them as we want. I think men are still kind of navigating, how do we play with this creativity, this feminine
Yeah,
energy, and tap into that
because
vulnerability.
they have it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, I completely agree with you. And there's a fear around that, right? There's a fear about embracing that energy. There's a fear of vulnerability for one. There's so many men are so in their head, do, rather than being in the heart space, right? Which is where everything actually takes place.
But that shows up, I think, in sex in itself, because men are driven to have that that what I'd call a raw sex. It's like, my audience know, like, I'm in the swinging world, and men will go into the swinging world as singles. Women don't, because there's an emotion. It's a different energy. We're still dancing with, working it all out, and being in the heart of it, and just playing with it. And if we want to, we embrace it in a different way. Whereas men, it's that raw energy they're looking for. Then
Mm.
it's a different kind of dance. So I think it's navigating that, and how we can support men to just embrace more of the tantra energy, more of the creativity energy, more of this, like you've said, the solar plexus, the inner power rather than the outer power, which again is like, after we had that C thing that went on for a little while, and men had lost their power. They literally were coming to me with erectile dysfunction. They'd literally lost their masculinity, because society was like, we don't know if you've got a job. We don't know if you can provide for your family. We don't even know if you've got a relationship. Everyone was struggling. And men were like, I don't know how to provide. I don't know how to step up as a man now, because the constraints of society, the world, were stopping men from doing what they do best in their own identity, which was
Mm.
stand in their power, because the world wasn't allowing that traditional role to play out as men normally do. So it's, how do we dance? Those that got creative and thought outside the box still had a job, still managed to do it. Those that were dancing in that energy were still able to manage their own relationship, their family, and everything around them.
Look, men have to be physical, right? If we just go to men, they have to be physical for one, right? That they need the physical activity in their blood, in their testosterone, right? They need to be able to do that, and if they're not, there's going to be a drop of everything, as well as mental health,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Um, Breath work is one of the most powerful forms of just connecting to self, right? Deep breath work and meditation, like that. Regular men don't do meditation. In the personal development industry, sure, there's a lot of men that do meditation and breath work because we're open to it. But there's a lot of men that aren't in the personal development industry, or think that creativity is a girl's thing, or think that, painting stuff is weird, or crying in a movie is like girly and I'm never gonna do that. Oh, I can't show my emotions. Uh, um, there's this element, um, for men, because we're all masculine and feminine as well, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, right. And being able to open up that communication and still feel, I think one of the things that men fear is that they're going to get disrespected if they're vulnerable, and respect is such an ingrained thing in men, right? I must be respected, right? I must be respected. If I'm not respected, I hide. um, I don't like it, and then I get into conflict. um, And I understand that because I went through a period of that too, of that I needed respect rather than raising my own standards of how I respected myself. And there's a big difference. So, so much of us, so many of us are looking for love outside of us. This is the other thing that someone can implement straight away. It takes practice, but you'll get used to it. Love yourself
Yay.
first
100%.
before anyone else, because it doesn't matter if you lost your job, you can still be a man. A label is doesn't mean anything. You're
100%.
still looking on the outside for some sort of validation.
Yeah, yeah.
So validation starts with self. And the moment that we can let that go, like you were just saying, like, oh, men don't know if they should open the door. Make a decision.
100%.
Like, seriously, make a decision. Are you going to be a gentleman, or are you going to be this? I'm off the fence. Nah, I let them do whatever they want to do, and I'm not going to be anywhere in that gentleman's zone. Make a decision. Don't sit on the fence and go, oh, I don't know, because that's just going to screw with your head anyway. I I've been with my partner for 4 years. Like I said, we've been on and off. It's been a huge transformational quantum shift journey that we've had together, and all the trauma associated to the ex partners, the divorces and stuff like that. Right? I still pull her chair out. I still open the door. I still send her messages at night. I still wake up in the morning and send her messages in the morning. It's just a decision. Who are you going to be?
100%. And I, I think it is making the decision, but then the flip side of that, if the decision doesn't resonate for the other person, it's then come back to that communication, isn't it? Because if for some reason that was triggering for me, which it wouldn't be, I bloody love that. Well done, you. But if it's triggering, like the opening the door, like I want to pay my way, I want to be, the independent work, like whatever it might be, that's when it comes back to that communication, because it's then finding that balance in the relationship of like, well, this is how it feels to me, this is how it feels, like I'm finding that compromise. It's all down to communication rather than just putting up with stuff in life, whether that's a door, the bedroom, like foreplay, whatever it might be, who's cooking the dinner, who's washing up, whatever it might be. Let's save the pots and pans flying. Like, it's about having that conversation if something doesn't feel right, because it's back to that thing about perception, isn't it? It's our perception from our own story because we haven't dealt with it. But actually, once you're having that conversation to understand why someone's doing that for you, the love languages stuff maybe even might play out in that, that people are more about time than about affirmations, or people about affirmations and gifts, or like whatever it might be. It's about, but you're never going to know that unless you open your mouth and have a conversation with someone who actually, that doesn't feel good for me. What would feel good for me is blah, 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 blah. And that could be in the bed. That could be about a text. That could be about anything. It all comes back to communication. It's really interesting because I've just launched an online program, and there's a module about story, about being an Australian, coming home to who we are. There's a module about communication, and one about mindfulness and breath work and all that juicy stuff. And I was talking to a potential client the other day and saying about the first 3 modules, and they were like, where's the sex bit? And I'm like, that is the sex bit. Like, that's your best bit. There is some juicy stuff after that, but that's just like icing and candles and stuff. Like, this is the cake. And they're like, well, where's the sex stuff? And I'm like, that is it. That's the bit you're missing. That's the bit. Understand your story, get talking, and learn these techniques of how to slow down what you're doing in bed, get out of your head into your heart, or at least, be conscious in your lower space, because most people are having sex in their head, they're not having it in their body.
Yes.
That is the juicy bit. Like the rest of it, where you're talking about, other little bits and pieces that I've added in, like, yes, that's great, but that none of that is going to work unless you've got all of this bit in place, unless you understand who you are. And the communication is absolutely, like, I know I've heard you talk about this in your Facebook about, the communication is, that's the key to everything. Every relationship is based on communication. You cannot have a relationship without it. How you choose to communicate then gives you the value of that relationship. And that's the bit
Yes.
that gets messed up. Gets me.
I I'm feeling you. Like I really am feeling you because I talk a lot about authenticity, and I talk a lot about and people wonder, oh, what the hell is I'm authentic. Authentic isn't about just being who you are. Authentic is owning who you are
Nice.
and
Yeah.
not being scared to say anything about who you are. Like my partner and I mean, we love taking shots of sex and stuff. We're highly creative. We share each other a lot. It's nothing to be scared of. Embrace it. I mean, everyone has sex. And the thing is, I actually don't talk a lot about having sex. I always say making love, right? That's my thing because that's what it is to me. It's I'm making love, I'm not having sex. I'm making love. I'm connected. I'm creating love. I'm tapping into my love and I'm giving you my love for you. That's the way that I look at it. And and I think one of the hardest things that I see, like I've worked with coaches and stuff, right? And I see the most powerful story in their whole life, right? That for their brand that they should be talking about because it'll help people, right? And 9 times out of 10, they won't do it because they're scared of what other people will think.
Been there.
They're people pleasing.
Yeah.
Yeah, too worried about everyone else instead of validating themselves and who they are. And I just, the reason why I wanted to talk about this with you for another reason is that sex should be spoken about, like love making should be spoken about so much more often. It should be shared in the home, like not sex in front of people, but I'm saying it should be like touching, holding, hugging, flirting.
100%.
Children need to understand what love is represented by, not hiding away, not pretending that it doesn't exist or only bad people do it.
We're only behind closed doors.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh no, I don't wear a G-string, or oh, have you got crotchless undies? No, I wouldn't do something like that. Like everyone does it. It is part of our existence.
100%.
We're emotional human beings. We're energetic forms. And sex is a part of communication. Love making is a part of communication with, I'm talking relationships. You know, the one night stands, yeah, it's fun. Right? Back in the day, yeah, it's fun, but is there this depth? No, because not all the time. Sometimes maybe when there's an explosion of passion and stuff like that, lust. But do you get the depth of the spiritual experience, the soul connection? Most of the time, not. It's very rare. So to be able to bring that magic, because that's what it is, it's freaking magic, and it will make you glow in your work, in your career, in your business, because you're actually making love with passion.
Yep.
And you're allowing yourself to be seen by someone. If you're hiding away when you're having sex, you're not allowing yourself to be seen.
It is a mirror. If you're hiding away in sex, you're hiding away in life. If you're passionate in sex,
Exactly.
you're passionate in life. If you're
Yep. 100%.
connected to life, if you can communicate, if you can set boundaries, like they're literally a mirror. Your business is an intimate relationship, so it can't not be a mirror of what else is going on in your life. And sex is the core because that's it is how we walk, it's how we talk, it's how we dress, it's how we communicate. It is everything we are. So if we're not embracing it, we're not showing up, like you said, authentically. We're just bullshitting way through life. We're just pretending to be someone else. It's another role. It's another character we're playing, isn't it? It's just a character
Yes.
that we're playing in life because we want other people to perceive us in how we think other people should be perceiving us as opposed to being our true self. Just a
I just
character.
want to underline that word that you said, pretending.
Pretending.
Everyone knows when you're pretending having sex.
If you're faking in the bedroom, you're faking in life.
Yep. I 100% agree with you, because living life is not easy, but it's so much easier when you can just be yourself.
And it is what I mean. I talk about sex, intimacy, and pleasure because I like people can have a choice. Then it's like a menu; they can take from whatever words resonate with them. But at the end of the day, it is all about being in heart. It's all about a heart energy. However, that connection is for you, and however it's perceived. This and that's the bit people forget. I think it's as much as we've talked about those lower like energies and that all being the power. The heart is the most powerful. It's more powerful than our brain. It radiates further than our brain. And if you do everything by your heart, you can never get it wrong because you did it for the right reason, because you did it with heartfulness. And yet we're so busy living our head in what will they say? What will they think? What will happen if I do this? You're never going to know unless you do it. And if you're doing it for the right reason, because it's coming from here, it's not going to go wrong. It just might not be quite how you thought it was going to be. That's all. That's as simple as it's going to. Like it just might not be what you thought. Like you said, there's loads. Of, you kind of resonate with that from different things in your life. You just got to sometimes just go with it and trust and see what happens.
Trust. So, the, just so everyone's really clear, the heart, the heart's frequency is, and this has been scientifically evaluated and checked. You can Google it and find this out for any of the doubters out there.
Heart
The
mapping.
heart's frequency is 5,000 times more powerful than the mind. Just let that sink in for a second. It's not make believe. It's not,
Science.
it's truth. It's science.
Why are we not using?
It's what the spiritual world has been talking about for tens of thousands of years. And science goes, oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah. And everyone's like, yeah, we've been doing it long enough.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Look, we will, because of these types of conversations,
Yeah.
because there's people like us standing up, having a voice, sharing, doing the work on ourselves. It's not like we just woke up one day and went, oh, I'm going to be a coach and I'm going to help people and I'm just going to wear this mask and pretend. Like, to become a master of what you do, you got to do a lot of work.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You got to see yourself, and to have that passion in the bedroom, to have that heartfelt connection, that where you lose time and you lose yourself into a space that that you almost lose your breath, or you step out of your body and you go into this space where a minute or two goes in an orgasmic space and you're like, I'm just vibrating somewhere. Like, everyone can do it. You can all experience that. It's just a fact that the moment that you see yourself and the truth of who you are, and know that you're a loving being, and that the shit and the trauma that went on was just there to make you a better person, so you could hold space for that divine feminine. And something else I want to talk about, the divine feminine. You were saying, that some women will be like, yeah, a bit masculine and stuff like that, and not sure if they like the door being open for them and stuff like that. You know what? The divine feminine, you want to tap into that space. From my understanding of what a divine, they want to surrender, man. They want to let their fucking emotions go and know that their man is going to hold that space for them, so they can just go like this. I just want to be a woman. Let me tap into that energy, man. You're my man. Let me just flow and just be. So they don't feel like they're being judged for it. Men can have this shitty aspect where we feel like we're criticizing, or we have this element of criticizing, or we're putting someone down, or that's something that women freak out about. They have enough pressure in the world with media and social media about their image and how they are meant to show up, or how they're meant to be, or whatever else.
True.
God, the last person that they need any criticism from is the person that they're meant to be in love with. As a man, just respect that beautiful specimen of a human being. Hold that space. Know that it doesn't matter anything about her past, because that's the beautiful part of her. That's the blossoming. That's the key to the essence of who she is. That beautiful essence that wants to thrive and just be that emotionally tapped in woman, filled with intuition, that can trust her man. The moment men bring that, the moment she gives you more respect. So the question for anyone out there listening to this is, ask yourself, what standard of love for yourself are you going to give, so you can show up? Because the moment you do that, you'll reflect the standard of love that you want to receive. And it's a key. It's a key for a man. Women are always wanting a little bit of guidance. Can you just like make the decision? Sure. I'll make the decision. Thanks, baby. But the moment the man says, you know what, I'm sick of being scared of myself and not committing to the love that I wish to show up for, and I'm making a decision today that I'm going to show up in the way that I want to show up with my love for me, because I know the more that I do that and I show up sharing my love in the standard that I see for myself, is when I'll see the reflection back from my partner that will be willing to actually give that love back too. That's my 2 bits for tonight.
2 bits, and a perfect place to take a nice deep breath. Practice what we're preaching. Yeah, just take a nice deep breath and just let that land, because that was beautiful. Thank you. That was so beautiful. Beautiful words that really, I had goosebumps the whole time you was sharing. Yeah, I think there's so much we can take from all of that, and so much truth in that. We are a reflection of each other and a reflection of our partner often as well. In what we see in the eyes, and the challenges are often the work we need to do on ourselves. So yeah, that really resonated, and I thank you for sharing the whole time we've been chatting so openly, and sharing such beautiful truths and heartfulness. Like, literally, I can feel that everything you've shared with us has really come from the heart. So thank you for your time. Do you want to just share how people can connect with you if they want to come and hear more of your truths and your wisdom, which I know you share very openly and very beautifully on Facebook and other platforms? So do you just want to share a couple of spaces? I will put it with the episode, but if you just want to share something for those that are listening.
Yeah, absolutely. So on YouTube is official Kane Novak. On Facebook is Kane Novak. My webpage will be up soon, which will be kanenovak.com. I'm
Just
if
Kate
you just Google if you just Google Kane Novak, you'll find me.
Novak. You
If you
will.
want to look at my film history, it's actually under Kane Sirota, because that was my previous name, which was my dad's stepdad's surname, which I didn't know about until I was about 30.
Another layer of the story.
Another layer of the story. But Kane Novak is it. That is my bloodline name. You can Google me. You can Facebook me. I'm on Instagram. There's LinkedIn. Kane Novak. That's who I am.
Awesome.
Embrace the power of you. Embrace your relationships. And coming soon, I'll be doing with my partner. We'll be doing some beautiful programs together. And funny enough, you brought up Life Force before we go. You brought up Life Force before, and I was going to say, guess what? I'm doing a retreat next year in March. It might be April, but we're looking at towards the end of March. Called Quantum Life Force, and I was like, yeah, that's it.
I love that. Okay, awesome. We'll be watching out for that as well then. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for giving so much of your time and for so many beautiful shares. And it's been lovely to connect with you, and I hope to speak to you really soon. Take care. Thank you. Thanks,
We'll do
everyone.
it.
Speak to you soon.
Thank you.